I almost dropped my phone when I saw the news. Cardano quietly launched something that could handle 1 million transactions per second. Yeah, 1 million. It sounded impossible, right? Well, buckle up, because I've got a story about how Cardano's new Hydra upgrade might just change everything. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't see this coming so soon, right? Cardano's been called a slow poke in the crypto race for many years, but out of nowhere, Hydra node version 1.0.0 is here, and it's not just some test anymore, it's actually live and ready. Yet, strangely, hardly anyone noticed at first. I even hopped on Blowfin, one of my go-to exchanges, the link in the description is an affiliate link that supports the channel, by the way, to see if ADA's price action had actually done anything wild. But no, the market was pretty much asleep on this news. That's like hearing the tortoise kind of strapped onto a jetpack while everyone else was kind of napping. Now, if you're into crypto at all, this is one ride that you're probably going to want to hear about, because it could reshape how we think about blockchain speed and maybe even give Ethereum and Solana a run for their money. So, what exactly is Hydra? Think of Cardano's blockchain as a busy highway then, and Hydra is like the building super fast express lanes just alongside it. Now, technically, it's called a layer 2 scaling solution. But all you really need to know is that it lets people do a whole bunch of transactions off to the side. Now, in these things, they're called Hydra heads. They then kind of settle up on the actual main road much later. Now, it's kind of like you and your friends passing notes among yourselves really, really quickly. And then just writing a summary on the chalkboard for the whole class to see, right? The benefit of this? Well, it's that the main Cardano network doesn't get bogged down with every single tiny transaction. And those off-chain notes can actually happen blazingly fast. How fast? Well, last year they ran a pretty wild experiment using a modified Doom game to stress test Hydra. And the system hit over 1 million transactions per second. And yes, you heard that right. 1 million TPS. Now that's the kind of number that makes crypto geeks do a double take. Now, here's some comparisons. Most of the big blockchains today are nowhere near that. Solana, with its famous, which is of course famous for its speed, usually tops out at a few thousand TPS in real usage, even though they actually claim up to 65,000. Now, Ethereum chugs along at, 15 to 30 TPS on its base layer, and maybe a few thousand with rollups on a good day. And here comes Cardano saying, hold my beer, I can potentially do 1 million. Now, it sounds like sci-fi, right? Now, let's be fair. That 1 million was in a controlled test. It's kind of like hitting top speed on a racetrack, right? The real world traffic is going to be a bit of a different story. Cardano's network isn't processing anywhere near that in day-to-day use, right? And it doesn't actually need to, at least not yet. But even if Hydra delivers a fraction of that in practice, then we are talking about a massive leap in capacity. So, Hydra 1.0.0 isn't actually just about crazy speed though, right? The new release is actually packed in a whole bunch of other improvements. So you can now submit transactions directly into these Hydra heads, which basically streamlines the entire process. Now, they added something called partial deposit support so that you don't actually have to lock up unnecessary funds to use the Hydra head, I gather anyway, right? And they also cleaned up some outdated info in the interface. So in short, the devs have been polishing this thing so that it's actually pretty usable. They even updated Hydra to play nice with the latest Cardano node software and Mithril protocols. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know what every line of code does, but it's pretty clear that they've been busy making Hydra more solid. So, is it perfect now? Well, of course not, right? There's one big known kind of bugaboo, if you will, they're still kind of tackling, and it's called the partial fanout issue, right? So when I first read that, I was like, the partial what now? Basically, it's a challenge of how data gets spread out to everyone in the Hydra network. Not a trivial kind of thing to fix, mind, but the team acknowledges that it's probably one of the biggest challenges left, and they are working on it. Now, the good news is that it doesn't stop Hydra from actually working. It just means that there's room to make it even better. Now, the team actually kind of called this release a solid foundation for Cardano's scaling roadmap. In developer speak, that means that we finally shipped it, but we've got some more work to do. Now, you might be wondering, how are the big players reacting here? Enter Charles Hoskinson. Now, if you don't know him, then he is the founder of Cardano and also the, co-founder of Ethereum back in the day, and kind of a polarizing figure, part genius, part showman, right? And he is stoked about Hydra. He's been talking up Hydra's ability to handle enormous traffic at extremely low cost. When Solana had that big network hiccup in January, Charles basically tweeted out, hey, Solana, we solved this. Our Hydra can handle that kind of traffic with no sweat and no extra cost. It's a bit cheeky, I know, but that's Charles for you. Now, that Hydra 1.0.0 is in fact live. He outright giddily saying that 2026 is going to be an awesome year for Hydra's progress, right? Coming from the guy who helped create Ethereum back in the day, that optimism does actually say an awful lot. Now, hearing all of this, I started thinking, could Cardano actually leapfrog the so-called Ethereum killers in the speed race? I mean, Hydra is a different beast, right? Ethereum's over there rolling out sharding and L2s to maybe hit 100,000 TPS in the future, while Cardano is pulling up with a tested blueprint for potentially 10x of that. Solana's boasting about tens of thousands of TPS, but has a history of going offline when things just get a little too crazy. So what Hydra offers is a way to keep Cardano both decentralized and fast without melting down the main chain. That is huge. It's kind of like finding out that the tortoise had a hidden turbo button all along. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that Cardano is going to kill Ethereum or Solana next week, right? These things take time, right? And Hydra is not some magic wand that's instantly going to give you a million TPS on day one. It provides a framework to get there as the network grows and as more Hydra heads are set up, right? Adoption is going to be key. Developers need to actually use Hydra in their decentralized applications, and users need to come on board. If nobody shows up to actually, to the party, even the fanciest little venue stays empty. Now, all of this tech talk got me really excited, but I also had to check myself. So when I get excited about crypto innovations, there's always that voice in my head. There sometimes in my kind of comments too, saying, relax. Don't go full moon boy, right? And you know what? They are right. This is a perfect time for a bit of a reality check and a quick disclaimer. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, we needed to say that because honestly, I'm super pumped about Hydra's tech. And I'm not here to tell you to go and buy a whole ton of ADA or to bet the farm on Cardano. In fact, let's switch gears for just a minute and talk about another experiment that I'm dabbling in, one that definitely falls under the do your own research. Have you heard of Unity nodes? No? Well, don't worry, most people probably haven't. Now, I stumbled on Unity nodes a little while ago while exploring different ways that ordinary people like us can participate in blockchain networks. And this one is a bit different from Hydra, but it is pretty intriguing. Now, the short version is that Unity is a project that lets you earn crypto rewards by using your mobile phones to help verify the telecoms network. And yeah, you heard me right. By making little verification calls from your phone, you can contribute to checking the global telecom grid. Kind of like doing little mini proof of work, but you're for phone networks, right? And in return, you get rewarded in crypto for your efforts. It's kind of like mining Bitcoin, and if mining Bitcoin involved your phone calling up a special number and saying, "Can you hear me now?" And then getting paid for finding any potential dead spots. Now, I was curious and maybe a little bit too crazy, so I actually went ahead and bought a Unity node package. And it's called a master node, and basically it wasn't cheap. It came about $5,000, but it came with 200 licenses, which basically means that I have the capacity to connect up to 200 different phones or devices into this network. But don't worry, I'm not about to run 200 phones all at once in my house and turn it into a mobile kind of mining farm. That's would be visually hilarious, right? Anyway, I'm starting small here, right? Once this kind of app goes live, I plan to run a test on these 10 phones to see how it works in practice. Consider me a guinea pig on this one. You might be thinking, why on earth am I doing this? Well, it's partly because I love trying out new tech like this, and partly because if it does work, hey, it could be a pretty cool way to earn some very nice passive income and some extra crypto while literally strengthening a decentralized mobile network. But I want to stress this. This is an experiment for me. Unity nodes is not proven yet. It's not live yet. And I have no illustrations or illusions, I should say, of getting rich quick by it. Although they do have a calculator on their website that has me drooling at the idea of those rewards, because they are quit your job nice, right? So it's worth doing your own research, but more on that in a moment. I'm going to have these phones running here. We're going to scale it if it works, right? And if these phones dial a number and it starts making decent amounts of revenue, great, right? It's kind of like joining a community initiative, right? The project is tied in with World Mobile and Minutes Network, which has a goal of decentralized telecoms infrastructure. So it's all rather fascinating stuff, but it's also complex and it is not without its risks. But if you are intrigued and you want to check it out, I have put a link in the description below for their light paper and their rewards calculator and all of the information you're going to need to see. So please do your own research if you ever want to consider something like this. It's easy to kind of get sucked into all of the hype and crypto from your phone, right? But you need to understand how it works, all of the mechanics in it, what the costs are, and what you're actually going to be helping to build here. Now, my mantra is this: never invest or experiment more than you are willing to potentially lose on a new project. Now, by the way, we talk about offbeat projects like this and, of course, big news like Cardano's Hydra in our free educational Discord server. The link for that is also in the description. So if you do have any questions or you just want to hang out with a bunch of crypto enthusiasts who love learning together, then come on in. It's completely free, it's fun, and it's a great way to level up your knowledge without the toxic hype. Now, bringing it back to Hydra and Cardano, right? Where do we go from here? Well, for Cardano, Hydra 1.0.0 opens a door to a future where Cardano could be a dominant in kind of throughput, as it has always kind of aspired to be in theory. Now, I'm picturing a world where the next big DeFi application or the next viral blockchain game chooses Cardano, not because of some cult following, but because it's genuinely the best tech for the job. Maybe it'll be a year or two from now. We'll be telling a story of how an indie dev built the next killer app on Cardano that took off because Hydra could handle the load when others couldn't. Now, of course, there are some other factors. Cardano has to attract developers, improve user experience, and continue working on other upgrades, like input endorsers, Mithril, and so on, right? But Hydra was a big missing piece of the puzzle, and now that piece is actually on the table. From my perspective, this whole journey from nearly falling out of my chair reading about 1 million TPS to digging through the GitHub updates to even trying out something crazy like Unity has been a pretty decent reminder of why I love the crypto space. It's a mix of cutting-edge innovation, a dash of Wild West experimentation, and a whole lot of passionate community efforts. One week you're hearing about doom and gloom like a $19 billion crash, congested networks, or maybe even high fees. The next week, you're kind of flipping the switch on something that's suddenly a solution to all of these problems. So, will Hydra make Cardano king of the blockchains, or will it be more of a stepping stone that others actually build on? Now, I can't predict the future, but I do know I'll be watching very closely, and likely with my jaw on the floor, popcorn in hand, figuratively speaking. But if you've enjoyed this little adventure today, make sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you all in the next one.